So I'm Robert Driver, everybody, postdoc at Duke University, and we are here at the AOS Student Research Grant Seminar Series again. And first, just to orient everybody, if you haven't heard this already, which many of you have maybe, AOS offers funding in the form of the AOS Student Research Grant due each year in January. And the AOS receives many applications for this grant, and so it's highly competitive. And this seminar series, among other goals, wishes to acknowledge the substantial amount of effort that it takes for students to write a successful proposal, a project that really advances the field of ornithology while still staying within that AOS Student Research Grant budget. And so the seminar series each week will feature a recipient from the 2023 or 2022 AOS Student Research uh, Grant winners in the seminar style format, 45-minute format roughly. And we are here until early May every week. This is week 11 or 12, something like that. And I want to thank everyone for being here and the AOS Student Affairs Committee, and Chris Ann Handel for all the promos that you see going out, the great work. Some of our recordings are out on YouTube now for the first time. You can check those out at the American Ornithology YouTube channel. And Ramona Fletcher for being here and for support. And so I want to remind everyone this is an AOS sponsored event. All participants must follow the AOS virtual meeting event code of professional conduct. And I will post a link to this code of conduct in the chat after I'm done talking. And please be aware that we're recording this talk. Also, I'll post a link to communicating with the AOS Student Affairs Committee, their contact information, as well as a post-seminar evaluation form that you can fill out to help us improve the seminar. And so I'll post those links in the chat right now. And I just want to apologize to everyone for being here as we um, uh, wait a moment here. I wanted to start on Maria's intro after she was here, but I think I may just go for it, and just get started, although I would give the intro and then we will be waiting. Um, so what do you guys think? I'm just gonna go for it. Um, so María de las Nieves Sabio, oh, and maybe we can actually, is Maria actually here under the other account? Uh, I apologize, everyone. No, that account is gone. Okay. So María de las Nieves Sabio is currently a PhD candidate at the University of Buenos Aires. And Maria's academic career began with a bachelor's degree in biological sciences from the University of Buenos Aires. And following graduation, Maria was then a research assistant in a variety of different ornithology projects conducted by researchers in both Argentina and in the United States. And Maria primarily worked with brood parasites, but also with Tyrannus savanna, which is fork-tail flycatcher, and Mimus saturninus, a chalk-browed mockingbird, and also the focal species of what would become her PhD, which is Agelaioides radius, the grayish baywing. So in 2020, Maria joined the lab of Dr. Cecilia de Marisco in the Ecology, Evolution, and Genetics Department of University of Buenos Aires. And Maria's ornithological research is published in the Journal of Avian Biology and the Wilson Journal of Ornithology. In addition to the AOS Student Research Grant, Maria was awarded the Bergstrom Award from AFO, Association of Field Ornithologists. And so with that, I would now turn it over to Maria for her talk entitled Parental Investment Strategies and Benefits of Cooperative Breeding in the Grayish Baywing. But this is actually a situation I have never encountered in all the seminars I've hosted. So I appreciate everyone's patience here. And again, I do apologize. Um, but as far as I know, the presenter is not here. So I think people are okay. Okay, great. Actually, that's pretty good timing, wasn't it? That was like a minute. Hi, Maria. We are just ready for you to jump in, basically. So I just gave, so I can re-say like the last sentence to kind of tee you up. Now there's no, you have to turn off you have to unmute yourself. So you're muted. Can I unmute? Let me see.
Okay, right
Okay.
now.
Okay, great.
Sorry. Thanks. I was running.
Okay.
I'm going to share my presentation.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. All good. We're not we're totally fine on time. And I was just saying right when you joined, basically, I will now turn it over to Maria for her talk entitled Parental Investment Strategies and Benefits of Cooperative Breeding in the Grayish Baywing. So
Okay.
whenever you're good to share. It looked great before. Uh
Okay. There. Oh, I
there
don't know
we
how to put the
go.
screen.
And
Well,
yeah.
I don't know how to change.
Uh,
Oh, this is like a nightmare for me. I'm going to share another. Sorry. Here. This one. Oh, okay. Um, Thanks. Share. Share. And full screen. Here. Okay. Well,
uh
okay.
and
Thanks,
it
Robert,
just
for the presentation and the
you're
opportunity.
welcome. It just appears as the whole PowerPoint
Okay.
screen. Is there a way to full screen it so that we don't see like the menu? Yep, that's great. Perfect. Now you're good.
I put okay, that. Okay. Yeah, I think I have a delay here.
Oh, okay. I see. I see. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I have disconnection to internet. Um, well, thank you, Robert, for the presentation and the opportunity to be here sharing with you all the project that was awarded by the AOS. This is part of my PhD, and I'm going to talk about parental investment strategies and benefits of cooperative breeding in the Grayish Baywing Agelaioides badius. I'm going to start with a question. What is cooperative breeding in birds? Well, it's a social system in which one or more individuals, we call them helpers, assist others in the care of their offsprings. But having helpers at the nest is paradoxical from an evolutionary point of view because why we have individuals that invest time and energy taking care of other chicks if they could have their own? Which are the benefits that makes helpers maintain this kind of behavior? Well, we have direct and indirect benefits. Direct related with sharing paternity and maternity of the offsprings, access to resources and protection, and higher chances of future reproduction. In the case of indirect benefits, we have that they increase the inclusive fitness by improving the reproductive success of related individuals. On the other hand, breeders might also benefit from the presence of helpers if helpers contribute to if the help they receive in nest defense and food provisioning improves their current reproductive success. Another benefit for breeders is that having helpers at the nest might reduce their they work at the nest and thus increase future survival and reproduction. So here we have a trade-off between current investment and future investment reproduction. This is part of the life history theory where breeders and helpers might adjust their parental effort according to a balance between the benefits and the cost of parental effort. But as far as we know, these costs and benefits are not the same for breeders and for helpers. Helpers might contribute equally or less than the breeders, and breeders might maintain their effort in the presence of helpers. We call that additive care, or maybe they could reduce it. We call that load lightening. So in which cases breeders and helpers exhibit this type of behavior? Well, when nest reservation is frequent, breeders might maintain the level of food provisioning, leading to an additive effect, and the contribution of helpers result in an overall increase in food provisioning. Here we have the examples of western bluebird, purplish-beaked jays, and Florida's crab jays. When nest reservation is rare, we have that helpers maintain their levels of food provisioning, allowing the breeders to reduce their workload. Here we have some examples of the red-throated bee-eater, the pit kingfisher, and the white-browed sparrow weaver. So the different investment strategies of cooperative breeders have been studied theoretically and empirically, but the decisions rules of breeders and helpers are still far from being understood. Here we have a map of richness in cooperative breeders. As we can see, we have a lot of species that present this kind of system. But what happens in the cooperative breeding in the neotropics? Despite the system is not uncommon, as we can see in the map, we have only a few studies about cooperative breeders. We have studies about cuckoos, flickers, Galapagos mockingbirds, and some blackbirds. One blackbird in particular is the one I'm going to talk about today, that is the Grayish Baywing. The Grayish Baywing, Agelaioides badius, is a medium-sized passerine with approximately 40 grams. The baywing have a wide distribution in South America, especially in Argentina, from north to the start of Patagonia. The breeding season is from mid-November to March, and the baywing presents social monogamy and facultative cooperative breeding. This means that not all the nests in a season have helpers. Around approximately 60% of the nests have 1, 2, and in some cases 3 helpers. These helpers can be either male or females, and they are recruited during the nestling stage, not before. Helpers are related to the breeding pair or the breeding male. We have a variability in the degree of relatedness. They are sexually mature individuals that do not reproduce, but they assist others in their reproduction. One peculiar thing about the Grayish Baywing is that they don't build their own nest. They use secondary cavities, for example, from Furnaridae or Tyranidae, and woodpecker holes, some nest boxes, and abandoned wasp nests. Some history about the Grayish Baywing. The first person that described this whole system of cooperative breeding in the Grayish Baywing was Rosendo Fraga between 1970 and 1990s. Then it came Cynthia Orsino. She was one of the first that did genetic tools, and she studied social monogamy and extra-pair paternity in the baywing. And one thing that she found is that larger broods had larger number of helpers. Then in 2012, it came Juan Manuel Rojas Ripari. He was one of the first that used genomic tools. He studied the variability in the degree of relatedness in the Grayish Baywing. And one thing that he found is mild interpopulation genetic structuring. Then in the 2020, I started my PhD. And one of the questions that I want to answer is how much do helpers help? The aims of this study. I want to analyze how caregiving tasks are distributed within the social group, assesses the parental investment strategy of breeders, study the alloparental investment strategy of helpers, and evaluate the benefits of cooperative breeding in relation to the current reproductive success of the breeders. The study site. This study was conducted here in Argentina, specifically in Buenos Aires province, in a private reserve of flora and fauna called El Destino, or the Destiny in English. I point that location in the map with a blue-white balloon there. This area consists in relict of native forest talares within a matrix of floodable grasslands. Well, the methodology. I went to the field in 4 different seasons, 2020, 21, 22, and 2023. I have in total 157 nests, but only 62 reached the nestling stage, and only 26 were used for the analyze. This is something I'm going to discuss later. When the season starts, we actively search for nests. We capture the adults, we take some blood samples, and we band them to identify the breeding female, the breeding male, and the helpers. When the eggs, we mark the eggs to identify them, specifically the order of the line. And when the first chick hatch, we start weighing them daily. I do some focal observations and filming at different nestlings age. In particular, I bring here day 3 and 9. And we quantify the brood provisioning, nest vigilance, and other parental care behavior. As we can see in the photo, there I was doing a focal observation. That adult is the breeding male doing nest vigilance, and the white arrow is pointing the entrance of the nest. Here is where I want to thank the AOS for the award that allows me to buy mist nets, scales, cameras, all the things that I use in the field. And another part that was founded by this award was the radio frequency identification system. This system consists in a reader-writer electronic board connected to an antenna. I put the antenna in the entrance of the nest, and I capture the adults and put that bit tag, the electronic ring that we can see in the photo below. Every time the adults pass through the antenna, they were recorded. With this, we wanted to know if there is a temporal pattern of attention to nest and the visits, specifically an alternation or synchronization of the visits. And another thing, we want to know if there is a temporal pattern of nesting departure from the nest. All this RFID part was a collaboration with Dr. Eli Bridge, professor at the University of Oklahoma. And this part is still work in progress. I didn't bring here these results. Well, some results. First, we are going to see distribution of caregiving tasks within the social group. At the left, we have food provisioning, and at the right, we have nest vigilance. We are going to start with provisioning related with brood age, 3 and 9, and role. Here we have that the breeding female delivers significantly more food than the breeding male, and the breeding male delivering significantly more food than the helper in day 3. In day 9, we have that the breeding female delivers significantly more food than helper, but we don't see difference between the breeding male, the female, and the breeding male and the helper. Here we can see that helpers increase their contribution as brood age. We have an interaction between role and age, and we have a tendency of a positive effect of brood size. When we evaluate the proportion of time in nest vigilance, here we can see that the breeding male spend significantly more time in nest vigilance compared to the breeding female and helpers, and we don't find differences between the females and helpers. And here we have a positive effect of brood size. In other nest-related tasks, here we evaluate time in other tasks with role, and the tasks are chick breeding, brooding, and hygiene. As we can see, nesting breeding, hygiene, and brooding tasks are performed only by females. Then we evaluate parental investment strategies of breeders. First, brood provisioning in females. Here we have that females did not adjust their food provisioning effort based on the presence of helpers, food in day 9 of the nestlings. In the case of males, here we have that males did not adjust their food provisioning effort based in the presence of helpers, but we can see an increase in day 9 of the nestlings. When we evaluate nest vigilance, here we have in the case of the females that females have a tendency to reduce nest vigilance in the presence of helpers, and we don't see an effect of nestlings age and brood size. In the case of males, we don't see or then we have investment rule of helpers. At the left, we had brood provisioning, and at the right, we have nest vigilance. We have that helpers increase brood provisioning as nestlings age and brood size increase. And in the case of nest vigilance, we have that helpers increase their nest vigilance as brood size increases, but nestlings age has no effect of their vigilance. Benefits of cooperative breeding at the current reproductive success. Here we evaluate the total brood provisioning and total nest vigilance. In the case of provisioning, we have that brood provisioning did not vary between nests with and without helpers, and there were more feeding events with a higher number of chicks in the nest. And in the case of nest vigilance, we have that we have a total great vigilance in day 9 of the brood in nests with helpers than without helpers. And we don't see an effect of brood size. Nest success. Here we estimate nest success probability in the presence or not of helpers. As we can see, the probability of nest success was not associated with the presence of helpers. This is something I'm going to discuss in a second. Well, some conclusions. First, nest care distribution. As we can see, the contribution of adults to nestlings care varies according to their role. It's not the same to be the breeding female, the breeding male, or a helper. We have a higher asymmetry in the care distribution at younger nestlings age. As we can see in day 3, the breeding male focuses on nest vigilance, The breeding male focuses on food provisioning and brooding, chick breeding, and hygiene. And helpers, well, they don't contribute that much to food provisioning or vigilance. In day 9, we have that the breeding males still focus on nest vigilance, but start contributing a little bit more in food provisioning. The breeding female still focus only in food provisioning. And in the case of helpers, we have an increase in food provisioning and nest vigilance. Parental and aeroparental investment strategies. We found no evidence of additive effect on provisioning for helpers. We found no evidence of load lightening for breeders. And helpers increase their effort with nestling age and brood size. So why helpers maintain this type of behavior and why breeders accept this kind of helpers? Well, in some cases, in some species, the breeders, particularly the breeding male, tend to be very aggressive with helpers that don't contribute that much. In this case of the Grayish Baywing, I didn't see aggression, but maybe the thing that explains this behavior is the pay to stay hypothesis or pay the rent. Where helpers might contribute the minimum possible just to be accepted in the group. Maybe this is the case of the Grayish Baywing. They do the minimum to be accepted. And one thing that is important is that in nestling stage, not all the nests have helpers, but when nestling reach fledgling stage or juvenile, all the groups have helpers. So maybe they contribute a little bit in nestling stage, but they have a more important role in fledgling stage. Another thing that is important is that in other species, like the carrion crows, we have what they call lazy helpers. In that case, those lazy helpers turn into not that lazy helpers when the environmental conditions turn adverse. Maybe this is the case too of the Grayish Baywing. And something about this I'm going to discuss in a second. Possible benefits of cooperative breeding. Helpers had a positive effect on overall nest care. We have a slight effect on food provisioning, a positive effect on total vigilance time, and no effect of nest survival. One possible explanation is environmental conditions. As I said before, when environmental conditions in other species turn adverse, the lazy helpers turn not that lazy. And when I analyze the first 3 seasons that I have, there were seasons very dry seasons. I have a lot of predation. And when I analyze that, I see a difference, a significant difference in nest with and without helper in nest survival. But when I put in the analyze the last season one, I see this no effect of nest survival. So I think I have to see a little bit more these environmental conditions and its relations with helping. Another relevant part is the effect of helpers in post-fledging stage. This I have mentioned it before. Nestlings in nestling stage, not all the nests have helpers, but in post-fledging stage all groups have. So we have that helpers play a more important role in post-fledging stage. So I have some challenges at the field. First, I have a high rate of nest failure due to predation. I have low percentage of nests reaching the nestling stage and fledgling stage. I have some difficulties in capturing the adults, equipment failure, and identification of individuals in filming. Another challenge, at least for me, was all the RFID system setup. I have to learn how to use it, and this was a challenge. And I another thing that was very difficult for me is that I have to make the antennas myself. I think the correct word in English is handmade antennas. I did it myself, so I have equipment failure. Another thing that was a challenge too is reformulation of the objectives. First, we wanted to do some clipping at the female, but um, the the capture of adults was very difficult. So if I had to done clipping, I would have to capture them twice. And capture them once was very difficult. Twice, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's impossible. Then next steps, I still have to analyze all RFID data, and I have to evaluate the effect of helpers' sex on their contribution. I know that it's not the same to have female helpers than male helpers. And the other part that I'm still that is pending to do or work in progress is the analysis of the contribution of breeders and helpers during the juvenile stage. These are all the Grayish Baywing group members that I want to mention: Professor Juan Carlos Reboreda, my advisor Cecilia Del Marcico, the researcher Juan Manuel Rojas Ripari, PhD students Adrián Méndez, Camila Stasta, students Aileen Martín, former members Natalia Peruzin, Ignacio Viera, and group collaborators Eli Bridge and Maya Lores. And I want to thank again the AOS for this award because this makes possible my fieldwork. And I want to thank my laboratory, my university, CONICET, Agencia, and the private reserve where I work. So thank you for hearing me.
All right, great. Thanks a lot, Maria. Um, thanks for the uh, presentation on bay wings, which I feel like we could hear about more up here in the north where I am. So I'll just start off on the questions. So Tony Diamond asks, what do you know about the genetic relatedness of helpers to breeders? And if you have access to the Q&A box, Maria, you can also read it if you want the words up as well. But what do you think about what do you know about the genetic relatedness of helpers to breeders?
Okay, I didn't do the genetic part. This was a PhD of the researcher Juan Manuel Rojas Ripari. But what I know is that some helpers are related with the breeding pair, some others are related only with the breeding male, but we have some helpers that they are not related with the breeding pair. And all the nests that are near the nest at for example, I have one nest, all the nests near, they could be related, the helpers to the breeders there.
And Shiley asks, as an interesting result that the helpers were more helpful in the juvenile post-fledgling stage. Do you know if the helpers are failed breeders, a redirected helping, or non-breeders?
They are non-breeders, but um, I have two helpers in one nest. I remember that I think they try to have their own nest and they fail, and um, they became part of a group as helpers. But that is still a work in progress. I still have to see those data.
Um, I think we're maybe lagging a little bit. Okay. Um, and Maria, I just wanted to ask, so the helpers increased from day 3 to day 9. Um, but you also mentioned that by the time they're fledgling, they'll all have helpers, uh, which was later than when you looked. So the
Yes.
help, yeah, yeah, go ahead.
No, please ask.
Okay. So like the helper recruitment then is active throughout this whole nestling, fledgling stage. Uh, so for example, or a helper could be recruited on day 1 or day 4 or day 20 or something. So when your conclusion is that helpers increased effort over time, how were you able to distinguish that the helpers increased their effort versus more helpers were recruited?
Because most of the nests have only one or two helpers, and in more of the cases, I have these one or two helpers recruit when nestling have 1 day or two. So I can see that difference if I have a helper that was recruited at, I don't know, day 10 of the nestlings.
I see. So yeah, so just some basics about the system. So there's only about 1 or 2 recruiters helpers, sorry, per nest, and then I was wondering what since they're helping, what's the clutch size of the usually for this species?
We have a clutch of 3 or 5 nestlings.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
Eggs.
cool. Okay, yeah, in my mind I had like tons of babies and tons of helpers, but it's actually a little bit more manageable than that's good.
That that is something that I didn't bring here to the talk because it's another whole story. But these species have parasitism, but I didn't bring that today.
Gotcha, gotcha. Um, just to make sure. Yeah, and another question. So you monitored one location throughout 4 years. Um,
Yes.
did you ever have the same breeding pair then year to year? Um,
Uh, sorry, continue.
yeah, and I was just wondering if like that same breeding pair would always have a certain helper or a set of helpers, or also if you could control any statistical bias that having that same pair in there for multiple samples across years. That's my question.
That is still work in progress, and that's a whole chapter of my PhD. Um, I I knew I have some breeders. I don't know how the breeding female and the breeding male together 1 year till the next, but that is still work in progress. I have to see the data, but I have the same pairs and helpers that were helpers next year. Still, they still are helpers.
Got you. Yeah. Um, yeah, my only point being like if like there's one very uh special, wonderful helper who's like a great helper, and then that helper over 4 years gets into the data set 4 times, then is like representing like only like the best helpers or whatever.
I think I don't have that kind of helper.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I have to analyze that
Yeah.
too.
I'm sure all the Baywings would love to have that. that kind of helper. Um, yeah, and last, and then we can end it. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm missing Brian's question. Um, he says, how long do the helpers stay with the clutch after fledging? And perhaps related, are baywings social and flocking in the non-breeding season? Yeah, that's good. Sure.
Uh, um, uh, they stay, the helpers stay with the fledgling a few months, and then because of the start of the winter, they form a part of a flock, a big flock, but they stay together a few months.
I'm having an audio issue. Maria, I don't think we could hear. We heard that the helpers stay with the fledglings for a few months, but are the baywings social flocking in the non-breeding season? I think the audio cut out.
Um, I don't understand that question. I think I'm going to say it like this. I don't know if I'm going to respond that, but in non-breeding seasons, they don't have helpers. They are part of a flock.
Yeah.
Um, they, the helpers only stay with the fledglings a few months, and then it came the winter, and they are like individuals stay apart.
Okay. Okay, well, I think that's it, you guys. Thanks everybody for being here and sticking with it till the end. Really appreciate everyone. Thanks so much, Maria, for your presentation and your great research and for all the running we made you do. Sorry about that. And
Sorry, I apologize for that.
no, no, it's we all enjoyed your presentation, and I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say we enjoyed hearing about the Bay Wings. And yeah, we'll see everybody here next week. Thank you so much, everyone. Just a reminder that post seminar evaluation form is there for anyone who wants to fill it out, and we will see you guys uh next week. Bye bye.
Bye.